The Galactic Council had made many mistakes in its 3,000-year history, but none would prove as catastrophic as the execution of Elena Draven. High Chancellor Varen stood before the assembled delegates, his crystalline form pulsing with satisfaction. The human woman had been terminated precisely at dawn, broadcast across every civilized world as a warning. She had been accused of espionage, though everyone knew the real reason: fear. Fear of her son. "The deed is done," Varen announced, his voice resonating through the grand chamber. "Let this serve notice to General Kale Draven and his barbaric species. Humanity will learn its place in our ordered galaxy." The delegates murmured approval. Humans had been a plague since their arrival on the galactic stage 40 years prior. Too aggressive, too unpredictable, too emotional. They refused to follow the ancient protocols that had maintained peace for millennia. And Kale Draven was the worst of them all. The general had earned his reputation through blood and fire. Where other species waged war with calculated precision and political maneuvering, Draven fought with a ferocity that terrified even the most battle-hardened alien commanders. He had single-handedly turned the tide in the Viridian conflict, defended the outer colonies against impossible odds, and his tactics had been studied and feared throughout known space. But Varen had found his weakness. Every human had one, he believed: family, that primitive attachment to blood relations. By executing Draven's mother, the Chancellor had intended to break humanity's greatest weapon, to force their surrender through psychological warfare. He had no idea what he had actually done. The first sign came 3 days later. The Zalvian fleet, 30 warships strong and stationed at the border of human territory, simply vanished. No distress calls, no debris, nothing. Just silence where there had once been one of the Council's most formidable battle groups. A coincidence, Varen assured the increasingly nervous delegates. Perhaps a navigational error. Then the attacks began. They called it the Ghost Campaign. General Kale Draven appeared nowhere and everywhere at once. Council installations across 12 sectors went dark simultaneously. Military bases that had stood for centuries were reduced to rubble overnight. Supply lines that had never been threatened in recorded history were severed with surgical precision. But it wasn't just military targets. Varen's personal estates on 4 different worlds burned. Council members found their private communications exposed, their secrets laid bare for all to see. The Chancellor's own family compound on Valoris Prime was infiltrated, though mercifully no one was harmed. A single message was left, written in plasma burns across the main hall. "You took my family. I'm taking yours apart piece by piece." The galaxy watched in horror and awe as one human, driven by grief and rage, brought the mighty Galactic Council to its knees. Draven didn't just fight. He waged a war of terror that exploited every weakness, every crack in the Council's millennia-old power structure. What the aliens didn't understand, what they couldn't comprehend, was the depth of human emotion. They saw it as a weakness, this capacity for love and loss. They didn't realize it could be transformed into an unstoppable force. Varen finally saw Kale Draven in person 6 weeks after Elena's execution. The general materialized in the council chambers through a method that bypassed every security protocol, every detection system. He stood alone before 200 of the galaxy's most powerful beings, clad in his combat armor, weapons holstered. He looked tired. Human exhaustion was evident in the lines around his eyes, the weight in his shoulders, but his gaze was sharp, burning with purpose. "High Chancellor," Draven said, his voice carrying an eerie calm that was somehow more terrifying than rage. "You killed my mother because you wanted to break me." To show humanity its place, Varen said nothing. His crystalline body had lost its confident glow. "But you don't understand us," Draven continued. "Every species in this council wages war as a means to an end. A calculated risk. When the cost exceeds the benefit, you stop. You negotiate. You find diplomatic solutions." He took a step forward, and despite the hundreds of guards present, not one moved to stop him. "Humans don't work that way. When you make war personal, when you target our families, our children, our parents, you don't break us. You remove our limiters. You strip away the civilization we work so hard to maintain. You remind us what we really are underneath all the progress and culture." He stopped directly before Varen, close enough that the alien could see his reflection in the human's dark eyes. "We're survivors, Chancellor. We evolved on a death world where everything tried to kill us. We climbed to the top of our food chain through sheer, stubborn refusal to die. And when you hurt our families, you don't see a soldier anymore. You see something far older, far more dangerous. The chamber was silent. No one dared breathe. So here's what happens next, Draven said softly. You will release every human prisoner. You will grant humanity equal status in this council. You will publicly apologize for my mother's execution and declare her death a war crime. He paused. Or I continue. And I promise you, Chancellor, what I've done so far was mercy. Varen looked into those human eyes and saw something that made his ancient consciousness recoil. Not hatred, though that was there. Not even madness, though grief had certainly left its mark. No, what he saw was worse, absolute certainty. The complete absence of doubt or fear. This human would burn down the galaxy if necessary, and he had both the will and the capability to do it. Your terms are accepted, Varen whispered. 3 months later, humanity took its seat as an equal member of the Galactic Council. Elena Draven was posthumously honored as a martyr, her name spoken with reverence across 100 worlds. And the Council learned a lesson that would echo through the ages. Never ever make it personal with a human. Because what they lacked in technology or numbers, they more than compensated for with something the galaxy had forgotten the value of. The terrifying power of love transformed into vengeance. General Kale Draven retired after his mother's funeral, which the entire council attended. But his legend lived on, a reminder that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or their tactics. It was their refusal to accept the unacceptable, their willingness to fight impossible odds, and their capacity to turn grief into a force that could reshape the stars themselves. The galaxy had tried to break humanity's strongest soldier. Instead, they learned why humanity would never be broken.